55 times, and he let her lay there and die. And he admitted that. So, but you'll look, every time my wife and I pick up the paper and we hear of some guy that did something obnoxious, I don't know, whatever it was, something bad, they got 40 years or something like that. Like our guy didn't even get that. And what this other person did was, I don't know, it just didn't seem as bad. It's all bad. You're selling drugs, it's bad. You're ruining lives. I'm trying to say it's not.
I'm really thinking, boy, this is worrying me. Then you got to dial it up. It's not always about being friends with your kids. Our things were always in life. Number one, they have to be safe. And you want them to be safe, and number two, you want them to be happy. But happy is never first. Safe is first.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here today, and I personally want to thank all of the people who made this happen, and all of you who are here to learn, to be sponges, to hopefully get information here and then be ambassadors of that information and take it back to your communities and your networks. This issue is personal to me. I grew up in a home with domestic violence and substance abuse, and my little sister was sexually assaulted when she was a teenager. So this hits home for me. The mission of solving these issues is very much on my heart. Now, from where I sit as a journalist, I feel as if there have been a lot of changes in the last 5 years since the first time I stood here for the first symposium. And for me, what I've seen is that then, I think there were almost, Cabrini's always been out in front, but for me, from what we would see in the news, on the news side of it, universities, colleges, I think all of them were, it doesn't happen, we don't want to talk about it, as if you were saying, as if not talking about it makes it not so, but it is so. And I think the good news is I see more and more colleges and universities getting it. They're getting it, that we have to talk about it, that it is all of our problem. It is our problem as a community, and it will only be solved by all of us working together. And you just can't put your head in the sand any longer. And so that's why I'm really happy to be part of this, because I think that no societal problem ever got better by not talking about it. So we gotta talk.
A lot of the dynamics are very similar. People also assume, with Homeland Security, we're talking about foreign nationals or people who are smuggled into the country and forced to engage in either sex work or labor. And it's really not the majority of what we're seeing. What we're seeing now are, generally speaking, teenage girls, American girls, who are lured into what they would consider to be relationships, like they are in a domestic violence situation. So these are girls who meet somebody online, or they meet somebody in a school, something like that, and this becomes their boyfriend, right? And this is somebody who in the beginning, in that honeymoon phase, loves them and takes care of them. And this is somebody who, listens to them and buys them things, really makes sure that all of their needs are taken care of. And then you see that control element kind of start to take over, like you do in a DV scenario. And often it can lead to trafficking. So
signs are, and the things that as a parent you can talk to your kids about. Seeing them sort of in print and lined out really made a difference. Obviously, warning signs, we've talked a lot about them today. One of the things that really stuck home with me as far as a parent goes is avoid ultimatums. You go in, those of you especially who have teenagers, you're going to go in and you're going to say, nope, you're not allowed to see him anymore. What's the first thing they're going to do? And that really I don't know, resonated with me. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so it just kind of, as soon as I tell her something to do, she does the opposite. So, you really want to listen. You want to be supportive. You really want to accept what your child is saying. And they're sort of all the same, whether you're a parent or a friend. I mean, there are some little tweaks depending on who's talking to you, but they're all fairly the same. You want to accept what the person is saying, support them. If you can guide them into some resources, that would be great. But really, that avoid ultimatums is one that really stuck with me.
If a person chooses to disclose to the police or chooses not to, our agency is a nonprofit. Our agency and the staff members are not there to give advice, suggest, or tell somebody what to do. We ultimately know that what might be best for one person might not be best for the other. So it's really about assessing the situation, providing knowledge. Knowledge is king, knowledge is power. We also, like Mr. Mitchell explained, that sexual assault and violence and domestic abuse is about power and control. So our role as the counselor advocate to a victim is to give them back that control. So that means making their own choices, however, with the understanding of what their options are. And so
And then they went on to work on the first federal law, the Jean Cleary Act. And the Jean Cleary Act is a consumer protection law, and it provides for transparency. So you get reported statistics. The key word is reported. So they're only statistics that are reported to college and university officials. They only tell part of the story. The other part of the disclosures are policy statements or summary policies, where a college or university has to put together this thing called an annual security report, which essentially serves as a cliff notes to all of the policies on your campus around safety, from sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, which is new to the law this year, alcohol and drug policies, policies about physical security of the building. So it includes all of those pieces. It also affords certain rights to a student who reports a crime and protects for a balanced and fair process.